Da li znate da na našoj planeti postoji jedno mjesto gdje svaka treća osoba doživi barem 90 godina? Gdje je demencija, gotovo nepoznata pojava, srčani napad i rijetkost, a broj malignih oboljenja među najmanjim na svijetu. Mjesto gdje ljudi obično nemaju satove jer nigdje ne žure, gdje navodno 80% parova starosti između 65 i 100 godina i dalje redovno vodi ljubav i gdje se živi na jedan sasvim drugačiji način od onog na koji smo mi navikli.
A to mjesto je Ikarija, grčko ostrvo poznato po svojoj dugovječnosti gdje provodim 8 dana da vam pokažem kako život ovdje zaista izgleda te koja je tajna dugog života.
E sad, stvari koje ćete čuti u ovom videu rezultat su razgovora sa lokalnim stanovništvom i osobama rođenim ovdje, pažljivo slušajući o njihovom načinu života i nekako trudeći se da upijem svaku njihovu riječ. Jer, iako sam do sada bio na zaista dosta grčkih ostrva, Ikarija je bez dileme jedinstvena. Te zajedno sa Okinavom u Japanu, Loma Lindom u Kaliforniji, Nikojom u Kostariki te jednim selom na Sardiniji čini jedno od 5 takozvanih plavih zona, mjesta na planeti gdje ljudi žive u prosjeku mnogo duže nego u ostatku svijeta. Do sada je urađeno zaista mnogo studija na tu temu, od kojih je svakako najpoznatiji dokumentarac Dan Buttnera kojeg možete pogledati na Netflixu, a koji kao razlog dugovječnosti života na Ikariji naveo sljedeće stvari. Mediteranska dijeta, malo stresa, dosta kretanja i popodnevne dremke i dobar san. Sve ovo zaista ima dosta smisla kada se pogleda, ali
i mnoga druga mjesta na Mediteranu žive na sličan način. Mnoge destinacije u Južnoj Americi ili Jugoistočnoj Aziji imaju zdravu hranu, dosta lagan život i mnogo kretanja. E sad ne kažem da je ovo istraživanje loše ili nešto slično, ali kao i kod mnogo stvari koje Amerikanci rade, uvijek postoje neka pravila, neki propisi, procedura. Ovdje mi se čini da je situacija mnogo komplikovanija nego što to izgleda.
Stoga ljudi, cilj koji ja imam je da zavirim u one male stvari koje se gotovo nigdje ne spominju kada se govori o Ikariji i da vam pokušam prenijeti što više njihovog načina života, među kojem se vjerovatno negdje i krije tajna njihove dugovječnosti. Ali, prije nego se dotaknemo zdravog života, ajmo prvo da upoznamo šta ovo ostrvo čini posebnim, a u tome će mi ovoga puta dosta pomoći Selina, moja prijateljica koja živi ovdje, sa kojom sam i organizovao ovo putovanje za grupu od 14 ljudi. Putovanje na, po meni, zaista čudesnu Ikariju, jedno od većih grčkih ostrva u Egejskom moru, u kojem danas živi oko 8000 stanovnika i sasvim sigurno najautentičniju lokaciju u ovoj zemlji u kojoj sam bio do sada. A zašto to kažem? Pa, dovoljno je samo pogledati ove kadrove i shvatiti kako divlje sve ovo izgleda.
Ono što malo ko zna je da Ikarija tokom 1912. godine 5 mjeseci bila samostalna država sa svojom vladom, ustavom, himnom i svim pravima koje normalna država ima. Ovaj čovjek ovdje, Janis Malahijas, je bio u neku ruku predsjednik te države. Trajala je kratko. Ovdje možemo da vidimo čak i zastavu, ovu plavu sa krstom gore. A mnogo ljudi danas se šali, pošto je 100 godina prošlo prije nekih 13 godina, da bi mogli ponovo da je vrati i da se ponovo osamostale.
Danas je ona sastavni dio Grčke, ali jedan od njenih najmanje posjećenih dijelova, a baš ta njena izolovanost od masovnog spoljnog utjecaja može da se vidi bukvalno na svakom koraku ovdje.
Selo u kojem se upravo sada nalazim naziva se Agios Hristos i većina sela na Ikariji nosi naziv po nekom svecu. Ono što je specifično za ovo je da je najživlje od svih i ovdje ćete naći najveći broj lokalaca kako uživaju bilo koje doba dana. Kaže se da ovo selo nikada ne spava i ovdje su ljudi uvijek ujutru, uveče, tokom dana, piju kafu pivo, vino, šta god, ali bez dileme nekako žila kucavica samog ostrva. Ono što trebate znati kada ste ovdje, da ne postoje veliki marketi, ne postoje uopšte lance marketa kao na nekim drugim grčkim ostrvima gdje imate veliku ponudu. Obično supermarketi izgledaju nešto kao ovo ovdje i dosta stvari se uvozi iz Atine, tako da nemojte očekivati veliki izbor proizvoda, sve lokalno, sve autentično, ali po meni baš to i daje dobar vibe ovom ovdje mjestu. Mada to ne znači da supermarketi nemaju zanimljivih stvari. Pazite, evo ljudi, euro krem od 10 kila, ovaj ovdje od 4,75 i ovaj isto. Bukvalno svi ovi euro kremi i ovi ovdje su barem 4,5-5 i više kila, ali euro krem od 10, on dođe 70 evra inače. Majica koja super opisuje lokalni život ovdje, ikarijska evolucija, do srećnih ljudi na kraju. Jedna od razlika Ikarije i drugih grčkih ostrva kada govorimo o nekom starijem vremenu je što ovdje nikada nisu postojali magarci koji su nosili stvari, zato što je magarac bio neka vrsta BMW u to vrijeme, nešto mnogo skupo i nisu svi ljudi mogli da priušte tako nešto. Ikarija nije bila jedna od bogatijih ostrva tog doba, bilo je dosta teško imati magarca i sama arhitektura ostrva, njegov nekako teren nije bio baš prikladan za njih.
We are now in the traditional Ikarian house. This is the modern structure, and this room used to be the bedroom. Here we have now a bed. Of course, this is a luxus. Not all the families can afford this. Now here you see a bit of random stuff. We have here some everyday equipment, like for the men to shave. Imagine using this one. They probably knew how to, but it's not like the moderns we have today. And we have the iron here for the ladies, more or less. Then we have some equipment of a priest. Somebody from the village was a priest and he offered to bring his old dressing and so on. And then we have the cooking equipment here. As we said, the cooking back then happened in a small fireplace, and they use a pot. They do not use plates, spoons, big table and so on. They sit all around together and they share from the same pot, they share the food. So spoons, knives and so on, this comes later. Let's say from the beginning of the 20th century and later they start to use them. Before this they eat with the hands. It's like in the Asian room, still the same way. They eat with the hands and they share the main pot. So, and here we have a very interesting object, which is this one. Here it says Milwaukee, if you can see it. So why do we find an object like this in a traditional Ikarian house? Because in the beginning, let's say in the end of the 19th century, beginning of the 20th century, people were very poor. The families were very big and job opportunities were very low here. So many of the boys usually used to migrate at the age of 16, 17, migrate to the States or to Australia. And this is a souvenir somebody brought back to the parents probably. Instead of bringing a magnet, he brought a cup. And here says Milwaukee, so we know that this person was in Milwaukee. This is why we find sometimes random objects from abroad. We know that big communities were created abroad in the States. Even today, the community of the States is huge with many thousands of members. And Australia was another one, and Egypt. They used to go to Egypt. Nowadays, the community of Egypt is very small because of the different religion. But Australia and the States, the communities are even bigger than the population of Ikarija. Ikaria has 8,000 inhabitants, but the Ikarians abroad are more, like 3 times more or 4 times more, depends the place. And they help a lot the local people. They still have strong connections. And for example, I studied here, went to school here in Ikarija, and then I got a place at the university. And the Pan-Ikarian Association of America helped me financially with a scholarship, a small scholarship for my studies. So even today, the connection is still active, and many of them visit the island, especially in the summertime.
A kada već govorimo o kućama ovdje, na Ikariji postoji jedna izreka koja kaže: spiti oso na oreis, kaj topo oso na to reis. Što bi značilo da kuća može biti vrlo mala iznutra, dovoljno da prosto staneš u nju, ali na mjestu velikom koliko možeš vidjeti. I baš ovaj koncept razmišljanja doveo do toga da danas veliki broj ljudi ovdje ima svoje bašte, da uzgajaju svoje voće i povrće, pa se shodno tome dešavaju momenti poput ovih gdje ćete jednostavno šetajući ulicama naići na dosta plodova oko sebe.
Predobro.
Doručak.
Pravi nar. Na Ikariji ćete primijetiti dosta osa, pčela, ali komaraca, zato što se ne koriste nikakvi pesticidi, nikakva zaprašivanja, ne postoje, sve prirodno, pa i zbog toga ima više insekata, ali je super stvar kada znamo da možemo ubrati ovako jedan nar direktno sa stabla i jesti ga, znati da je apsolutno zdrav, čist i prirodan. Pored nara uzeli smo i ovaj jedan kaktus. Bukvalno smo ga ubrali na drvetu i kaktus, ljudi, izgleda ovako iznutra, pošto ima dosta bodlji. Moramo ga pažljivo isjeći, ali pogledajte kako to izgleda i on je onako dosta sladak, kao neka breskva, šljiva. Nije uopšte nekog neobičnog okusa, vrlo tipičan okus i za naše uslove. Samo morate paziti sa bodljama, jer ima ovih sitnih jako dosta, ali kaktusi kada su malo zreli, kada su ovako naranđasti, mogu se bez problema jesti.
Ali, prije nego nastavimo dalje sa hranom, ono što je bitno da znate je da Ikarija ima zaista prekrasne pješčane plaže sa suncobranima koje sada vidite, na kojima gotovo nikada nema onih gužvi na koje smo obično navikli na drugim grčkim ostrvima. Ali među ovim plažama, ona koja sasvim sigurno privlači najviše pažnje je plaža Sejšeli, koja je svoje ime dobila po svojoj nevjerovatnoj boji vode, ali i stjenama koje malo podsjećaju na one na Sejšelima i koja je smještena između ove dvije stijene od magnana, za kojih se vjeruje da pomaže pri regeneraciji ćelija i smanjivanju stresa na tijelu. Do same plaže najlakše doći brodom u vožnji koja traje oko 10 minuta iz Maganitisa, a kada dođete ovdje sve što trebate je da se prepustite i uživate u ambijentu.
Kupanje na plaži Sejšeli bilo je zaista savršeno i ovo je možda najpoznatija, najčuvenija plaža ovdje, mada postoji dosta drugih, nekako pitomijih plaža na ostrvu. E sad, nema ništa bolje nego nakon kupanja otići na jednu tradicionalnu grčku hranu i hrana ovdje možda među najboljim koje sam ikada jeo, ali baš ta hrana je možda jedan od uzroka zašto ljudi ovdje žive tako dugo, a naredni minuti su upravo o tome.
Da budem iskren, nigdje u Grčkoj ni hrana nije bila ukusna kao ovdje, te nigdje porcije nisu bile ovolike. Nekako, sama činjenica da svaka paprika i paradajz koju dobiješ na tanjir dolazi iz bašte neke bake koja tu živi i da svako meso koje jedeš je meso životinje koja trči po planinama i proplancima Ikarije, čini ovo ostrvo posebnim. Svako jelo koje dobijete bit će isto tako savršeno začinjeno, mada ono što iznenađuje je da kuhari kažu da uopšte ne koriste mnogo začina, već da je sama hrana već u startu malo slana zbog vjetrova koji donose sos sa Egejskog mora. A koje još tajne kuhanja postoje, saznaćemo sada u Karimali svinariji, gdje su ovoga puta sa nama Elena i Jorgos, ljudi koji vode najstariju vinariju na Ostrvu i koji su do skora bili dio Netflix dokumentarca o plavim zonama. Vjerujte mi na riječ, ovo što sada slijedi može uveliko da promijeni način kako gledate na ishranu u životu.
There are some details that are very important. What she's going to do, she's going to do a way of cooking that in English is called simmer. Means that the boiling is going to be at the end with low heat and the lid on. So now she goes high heat until it starts to boil. When the boil starts, it goes very low and puts the lid on. This is simmer. Simmer is a way to cook food if you want to make things that you have in the water to be tender, soft. Because the dynamic in the casserole when you do this is whatever is in the water absorb the water. If you stay high heat, this high heat is going to make the water dilute whatever is in it. So when you then turn low with the lid on, this is helping what is in the water to absorb it. This is the way to make things soft. Many things, if they are not tender, they are bad digestion. So if we have beans and peas, legumes, bean and peas, this is a very important food, but if it's not tender, makes you bloated. So this fiber that this food has needs all the food to be tender, soft. This is the way.
Inače, Jorgos već dugi niz godina drži predavanja širom svijeta o zdravom životu, a njegove metode spremanja jela izučavane su na mnogim univerzitetima širom svijeta. Jedna od stvari koja me na neki način iznenadila je i njegovo istraživanje na temu dijabetesa, koji kaže da ljudi s ovim oboljenjem mogu da konzumiraju pojedine stvari koje sadrže šećere, ali ako uz njih uzimaju vlakna. Naime, ako na primjer pojedete jednu jabuku, vaš šećer će sigurno da skoči malo ka gore, ali ako uz tu jabuku pojedete i zelenu salatu ili brokulu, količina vlakana će da izbalansira taj skok šećera od jabuke te ga vrati u normalu. Mada, ovo je samo mali dio onoga što je podijelio sa nama.
So, number one, leafy greens and some vegetables who are like them. And number two is legumes. These are used nearly every day. Every day. Legumes, every meal has a vegetable. Every meal has vegetable. So number three is all the plants, the other plants, not the one and two. Number three are the others, like nuts and fruit and grains. And number four are the animal foods. Meat and fish are used max 3 times a week. So one day will be meat like goat or other meat. One day will be fish, and one day can be white meat or fish again. White meat like chicken or fish again. These are the 3 meals that they have in one of either lunch or dinner, usually dinner. No more meat, no sausages, no salamis, nothing. When they have breakfast, basically breakfast is plants and sometimes a little egg, a little yogurt, something like this. Okay, this is the diet. 80% at least is plants and not more than 20% is animal food. Animal food altogether. Meat and fish and dairy products like cheese and yogurt and egg, honey, all of them, number 4, and used by 20%, not more than this.
One big part in our life in Ikarija is the herbs. We cook 3 recipes. One is the yellow split pea. The other is we make dough together and we roll filo to make a pie, a Ikarian pie. And third, we make together soufiko, is the most popular recipe in Ikarija, with summer vegetable. Your recipe is 150 gram water, 40 gram olive oil, 10 gram white vinegar, and a pinch of salt. That's it. This is my dough, and I teach my dough. And the flour. And you work here to make a nice dough with two hands, two, like this. Fold and press, fold and press. Maybe 5-6 minutes, 7, to have a nice smooth dough, soft. And I make around. I go to make more thinner, up and down, up and down. I don't go out, and I don't make this round. We make all together and turn, all together and turn, all together. I start, you be careful what I make, cover, under the stick, roll tight, and I start in front of us, big back and forth, and from the center out. I don't press, and you don't press. The filo, open, slowly, slowly. Big back and forth, and from the center out. Big back and forth, and from the center out. The trick, oops. We correct, we correct.
Na ovom času kuhanja spremali smo 4 lokalna jela, a onda na ovoj predivnoj terasi dobili priliku da ih degustiramo, dok naš lagani vjetar sa Egeja sve vrijeme osvježava. Malo se priča, malo jede. Razmjenjuju se utisci onome šta smo naučili, te svako prepričava dio onoga koji ga je najviše dojmio. A kada govorimo o sebi, uvijek ću se sjećati Jorgošove rečenice da ne postoji ništa gore, nego kada nakon jela ljudi odu da legnu umjesto da prošetaju negdje, te puste hranu da se stvari. Mnogo mi je drago što su moji putnici imali priliku da čuju sve ovo i da nekako svi zajedno učimo o tome kako jesti bolju i zdraviju hranu, te malim promjenama koje možemo raditi kako bismo prosto živjeli bolje. I baš iz tog razloga
napravit ću samo malu pauzu od obilaska Ikarije da vam kažem da sam ovdje sa turom koju vodim sa mojom agencijom Rio Travel. 14 nas je ovdje i obilazimo Ikariju 10 dana. Istu turu radit ću i naredne godine, vjerovatno i one tamo. A sve informacije o stvarima koje radimo, cijeni, programu i slično imate u opisu ovog videa. I tura je zaista ograničena na 14 ljudi. Ne želim veliku grupu, želim da se svi nekako osjećamo kao mala porodica, da zajedno istražujemo ovo ostrvo, te koga zanima u opisu videa više o tome, a možete mi pisati naravno i na moje profile.
Sam naš boravak u vinariji trajao inače 5 sati, a prije nego smo napustili ovo mjesto, htio sam da čujemo od Jorgosa još nekoliko savjeta koje možemo raditi kako bismo unaprijedili naš život.
Why do you think people live long here?
It's a matter of lifestyle. Lifestyle is how you spend the 24 hours of your daily life. It is important what you do during every hour, if this every hour is spent the correct way. So what we see is that people who live long, they have a good flow in the daily life. The diet has a good character. I mean, it's good diet, but also the combination between the diet and the movement. They eat and then they move, they do works. They don't spend hours with their belly full of food in front of the television or by resting in proper times. They can have a good sleep, and then the rest of the time after the sleep is very active day. So these are elements of good life. They don't have bad habits. I don't think that we need special education to understand what a bad habit is. We know what is a bad habit.
And what do you think is one of the biggest mistakes people today make in the way how they live?
They think that it has no sense to prepare their food themselves. So they want to buy the foods from a fast food for whatever is in problem, buy pizza or, you know, all this kind of stuff. When you tell them that they need to spend time to prepare something much better, they will tell you, I don't have time. But then when you check them what they do and they tell you that they don't have time, you see a lot of time that they hang around, a lot of time that they spend with meetings by meeting other people with no meaning. So this is what they do. They will tell you that it's important for them to take their kids to several places every day, but when they come back home, on the way back they buy the food from the fast food for their kids. I'm sorry, you spend 3 hours for your kid to go for football, which I don't think it's bad, but you spend 3 hours and you have 0 hour to prepare a good meal. That's a bad way of life.
Ono što isto tako primjećujem dok sam na Ikariji je da se hrana ovdje obično dugo sprema te da se njoj posvećuje posebna pažnja. Na isti način kao što mi gledamo na novac, oni gledaju na kvalitet namirnica koje koriste, trudeći se da što manje jedu konzervirane hrane. Gotovo uvijek se jede u porodici, polako i bez žurbe, kao što je uostalom i sam život ovdje.
Kada smo došli na Ikariju i kada smo dogovarali doručak za naredni dan, djevojka iz agencije sa kojom radim turu mi je rekla da je doručak od 10. Rekao, možda nisam razumio, možda, rekao do 10. Ne, kao od 10. Sad je trenutno 10:20 i evo kao što vidite, sve je prazno, tek je stigao momak koji radi u restoranu, tako da prije 15 do 11 ne očekujte da ćete dobiti nešto.
Vjerujem da je jedan od razloga njihove dugovječnosti i sam ovaj pristup životu. To što jednostavno ništa nije hitno, što nikada nije da nešto mora sad i odmah, te za razliku od našeg svijeta, gdje je vrijeme novac, ovdje je baš suprotno. Novac je vrijeme, a nema ništa ljepše nego provoditi ga sa dragim ljudima oko sebe.
Imali smo prilike obići sjeverni dio ostrva, zatim južni, bili smo i na istoku, evo nas sada u centru Ikarije, u selu Akamatra, jednom od najfotogeničnijih malih sela ovdje na Ikariji. Selo gdje se nalazi najstariji kafić na ostrvu, upravo ovaj ovdje, koji je trenutno zaključan zato što je nedjelja 11 ujutro i ljudi još uvijek spavaju, ali evo, katanac je tu, ne možemo ući, ali mnogo istorije veže se za ovo mjesto i sasvim sigurno jedno od najšarmantnijih lokacija koje ovdje postoje. Jedno od najšarmantnijih sela ovdje na Ikariji je bez dileme Evdilos, gdje sam upravo sada. Luka, jedna od većih luka, iskreno, na samom ostrvu. Mjesto koje nudi mnogo dobrih restorana, dobrih kafića, lokalnog života. Mi smo ovdje da nađemo jedan lokalni med i lokalno maslinovo ulje za koje su nam rekli da je odlično, pravi ga jedna gospođa, pa sad ćemo da ga isprobamo. Kako je maslinovo ulje?
Fantastično, baš je ukusno. Vidi se da je domaće.
Drama.
Drama što bi rekao.
Evo ulja ovdje i možemo sa hljebom ovako da umočimo malo i isprobamo ga. Jedna od stvari koju vidimo širom Ikarije su posteri, natpisi, zastave, podrške Palestini, ali i plakati ove vrste. Konkretno na ovom piše niste dobrodošli na Ikariju ukoliko podržavate genocid nad Palestincima. Jedna od najboljih stvari Ikarije je što imate pekare poput ove ovdje gdje generacije i generacije rade, preko 50 godina iskustva na ovom ovdje mjestu i proizvode ove zaista vrhunske pogače sa sirom i mnogo lokalnih momenata ove vrste, mnogo malih preduzetnika, da ih tako nazovemo, mnogo malih prodavnica, kao što već znate, bez velikih marketa, što baš daje dušu svemu ovom. Arina, kakva je pita?
Kako da zna da je snima pa neće?
Ne voli pitu. Iako Ikarija nema velikih gradova, njena de facto prestolnica je mjesto Agios, Kirkios, jedno od nekoliko sela koja postoje ovdje. Ono što je zanimljivo je da ukoliko biste nekome htjeli da pošaljete recimo razglednicu ili neki paket ovdje, većina kuća oko mene nema adrese kao što ih mi poznajemo. Naprimjer, moja adresa Kozarska 61A u Banja Luci ne bi postojala na taj način, već biste vi ovdje poslali Nikosu, muzičaru, sinu od Kostasa, na primjer. To bi bio način da poštar razlikuje i da zna kome ta razglednica stiže. Bez dileme jedno od najužih ulica gdje sam bio do sada. Pogledajte kako malo prostora ima da se prođe prije nego se izađe ovdje na glavnu ulicu. Jedna super stvari Ikarije je i to što je gotovo svugdje voda pitka. Ne morate da kupujete flaširanu vodu i dosta vode u mjestima dolazi sa planine, tako da je voda više nego zdrava. A na dosta drugih grčkih ostrva gdje sam bio, voda se često ne preporučuje za piće, ali ovdje kažu da je zaista dobra, da je čista i da je apsolutno sigurna. Kada se govori o razlozima dugovječnosti ovdje, jedna od stvari koja se zaista vrlo rijetko gdje spominje je radioaktivnost ostrva. I ovo je jedno od najradioaktivnijih ostrva, ne samo u Grčkoj, već generalno u svijetu. Postoji dosta banja koje su radioaktivne i gdje se možete kupati. Sada ćemo ući u jednu od njih da vam pokažem to iskustvo, a nakon toga da vam ispričamo više o ovom fenomenu ovdje. Ajmo ekipa!
Okay, so we are at the hot springs. We are in the village of Therma. Ikaria has many hot springs. Most of them are concentrated in this village. Why do we have hot springs? Because of radioactivity. What do we mean with radioactivity? Not the harming one that everybody gets scared of. There are many ways to produce radioactivity. The most common one that we know in the nuclear power is produced from radium salts. This is something very harmful. Of course, you have to go there with an uniform and be protected and so on. Here in Ikarija we have radioactivity produced from radon. Radon is a noble gas that exists in the ground, exists in the rocks, and even if it's underground, it comes up, and whenever it meets water, we have the hot springs. So here we have the hot springs of the cave, as we call it. It's one of the springs, and yes, it seems like it's hot. Is it good? Great, okay. So here we have radon. It's in a small concentration, in a low concentration. And in low concentration, it can be very helpful or therapeutic for bone disease, for skin disease, or for women that that have fertility problems, actually.
And you also mentioned that for you it can be one of the reasons people
It seems like, unfortunately, I'm not the specialist, I'm not a doctor, I'm just a guide, but it seems like there must be a connection because we have a very high radioactivity all around the island, and the hot springs of Ikarija, according to the geologists, is one of the most radioactive hot springs in the world. So the concentration in comparison to other places is very high. There must be a connection, but nobody made a research yet, so we don't have the data. Could be. It's an open field that needs to be discovered.
Jedno vrijeme čak važio i zakon gdje su sve kuće koje su bile blizu mjesta bogatih radonom morali da provjetravaju svoje domove barem 20 minuta dnevno kako bi taj zrak ušao unutra, kako bi ih na neki način učinio zdravijim. I razmišljajući o svemu ovome, čovjek shvati koliko sve što nekada naučimo u životu ima mnogo veću suštinu i mnogo drugačije značenje, koliko sama radioaktivnost koja je često predstavljena kao nešto najgore ima i onu svoju dobru stranu.
Dobrodošli na Panigiri, najveću žurku na Ostrvu, koja je u stvari mnogo više od toga. U svom prijevodu riječ Panigiri značila bi okupljanje, a predstavlja najdruštveniji događaj na ovim prostorima gdje oni mladi, ali oni stari dolaze da prosto uživaju u ovoj atmosferi. Panigiri se inače održavaju na nekoliko ostrva Grčke, ali ovaj je ovdje poseban iz par razloga. Prije svega, na njemu se uvijek služi besplatna supa, za ljudi koji nemaju novca voljeli bi da budu dio događaja, ali i po tome što ga organizuje zajednica. I sav novac koji se zaradi ide za pomoć života na ostrvu, što nije slučaj na drugim grčkim ostrovima.
Okay, now we are going through the village. As you can see, it's a very nice pedestrian area. Everything you will see here, what has to do with infrastructure, like the nice floor here, is made with money from the Panigiri. Again, so you can see what we do with this money, why Panigiris are so essential for our communities. It's not just dancing, celebrating, because the villagers on that day, they're really busy on that day. They're not just dancing, drinking and having fun. It's more than this. We make the infrastructure for our place.
Panigiri mogu da počnu tokom dana ili tokom noći, a Ikarija inače ima preko 100 festivala godišnje koji se obično dešavaju na dane velikih svetaca, poput proroka Ilije ili Agije Paraskeve ili Panagije. Taj mi se čini da ovakav vid druženja uz muziku, osmijeh i dobru energiju itekako doprinosi njihovoj dugovječnosti.
Welcome to the monastery of Munde, as we call it. If you say Munde, you mean this place. The official name is the Monastery of the Annunciation of the Virgin Mary. So, according to the legend now, the first church here was built 1460, which is a very long time ago. If you think that the fall of Istanbul happened 1453, this is, let's say, 7 years later, which is very old. Archaeologically, not. proven. We don't have the evidence. It's according to the legend. And according to the legend, there was once upon a time a shepherd with his son, and they were somewhere in the mountains, and the son was blind. And he was seeing every night in this area a light. So he went to the father and said, something's going on there, I see a light. They went to the priest of the village didn't take them very seriously. But anyway, after months, they came here, they found the place, they dig the place the boy said that he was seeing the light, and they found an icon of the Virgin Mary of the Annunciation. The icon is preserved in the church, we will see the icon, and behind the icon, if you put your hand behind, you will feel a gap from the tools while digging. They hit it, actually. Friday before Easter, it's a tradition, even nowadays in the villages in Ikarija, that we decorate the epitaph with flowers. All the villagers bring to the church flowers that they have in their garden, and young ladies prepare it, make it beautiful. So this one is a very special part. As you can see, everything is wooden, the modern ones are metal, and we have an inscription here which says that this one was crafted in Izmir from Fotis Salamanis is a name, 1910. How did this end up here? Probably it's a refugee after the Asia Minor catastrophe. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this term. It's the catastrophe of the Turks. It's the war against the Turks against the Greeks, and the Turks killed many people in Izmir in 1922, and a lot of people needed to flee. So one of the things that we see in every culture, when somebody has to flee, what they take with them, and it's very strong in them, is the religion. This is why we have all those troubles nowadays in the European countries with all the refugees that are very strong with their religion. It's something very typical that people bring their religion with them. So it seems like this one was carried from Izmir on a boat and somehow ended up in Ikarija. And people dedicated it to the church in order to say thank you. So it's a refugee, actually, a small refugee here from that time. Nowadays, it's not used anymore. It's only for museum purposes here. And as you can see, it's handcrafted and wooden, and it's preserved. Even though this traveled on the sea during war, it's still kept in a very good condition. This place is a monastery since a very long time ago, but during the Greek Civil War, which is 1946 to 1949, this place was actually a sanatorium for left exiled people which were suffering from tuberculosis. Ikarija, during the Civil War, which happens after the Second World War, was chosen as a place to exile people, exile communists. The two poles were the right authority, the right party authority, and they were hunting the Communist Party and the communists. So they chose 26 places in Greece to send people to exile, and one of them was Ikarija. So those people were sent here just to die. They were, let's say, the thread for the authorities, so they were sent here to die, and they were just left at the ports, the two ports of the island, and there was no organization at all. So they had to split in different groups, and lucky them, the locals accepted them very easily. They took them to their houses and they hosted them wherever possible, in a place where the animals lived or in a small abandoned house that they had in their garden and so on. And they helped them also with food supply. So the exile people started to think of how can we give them something back since they're so nice to them. So the people who came here, who arrived here as exiled communists, they were not some random ones, but the highest social class of Athens, especially of the cities. So there were people from the universities, they were doctors, they were students, they were high educated persons. They came here, and the only thing that they had to give to the locals was actually their knowledge. So, depending on what the background was, if you were a doctor, you would give your services to the locals. They will give you food, and you, as a thank you, would help them. If you were like a professor, you would teach the children, for example, and so on. So we understand that there was a huge collaboration between the local societies and the local people and the communists. And so the communists had a better life quality, even though they were sent here to exile. On that time, unfortunately, a big amount of population suffers from tuberculosis. So when the communists came here, 15,000 people, some of them were sick. In order not to make the local population sick or the other communists, they decided to abandon themselves in order to get in a quarantine. The place that they chose was this monastery, the monastery of Munde, which was at the time abandoned. The conditions of living here were very difficult because this is a place up in the mountains and very high humidity in the winter. We know that this place hosted in 2 years around 130 patients, but from them only 5 died, which is a miracle if we think of the conditions that they were living here, which seems that the willing of life was stronger than the death. Now, since they had a huge collaboration with the locals in general, the people accepted the communists as good persons since they helped them. Ikarija used to be always abandoned, never got attention from the authorities because it's a very difficult island. It's mountainous, no ports, not a big production of stuff. So the first people ever in modern times who showed attention to the locals were the communists. And later, when the people, when the Civil War was over, 1950, the locals started to see all those people who they hosted in their houses on the television, on the newspapers, being part of the Communist Party. So the locals voted for them very easily because they knew them in person and they remember that those people helped them. So a big amount of the population back then and even today are communists by heart. Since they were communists more by heart, by experience, by remembering that those people who they see now in the politics helped them, they kept the customs that they had before, which means Ikarija was started to be called after the war as the Red Rock or as the Cuba of the Aegean. But most of the people, they're hardcore communists and they are at the same moment they're hardcore religious, which is a very strange thing because we know in theory that those things do not fit. But this is very unique in Ikarija because people were religious before, but they kept their religion also after the communism because they thought this is something that suits us both. They didn't separate them.
Vjerujem da ste svi vi jugonostalgičari, ali ljubitelji Jugoslavije poput mene na trenutak osjetili barem malu dozu nostalgije slušajući ovu priču koja je meni jednako nevjerovatna kao i priča o životu ovdje, a koja opet čini Ikariju tako posebnom, zar ne? Jer imati komunističku vladu u zemlji Europske unije i ljude koji na neki način i dalje žive te vrijednosti je nešto što se, priznaćete, danas rijetko viđa.
We are here at the monastery of Theoktistis. Theoktistis is a name. It's a name of, she was a nun actually, and she became saint after her death. Her parents died at a very young age, and she became a nun. She was at a monastery, and this probably was around the 9th century AD, so a long time ago. On that time, the Aegean suffers from pirates, and she was at the monastery, and at some point she wanted to visit some family members, her sister or something, in a village close to. On her way, she got kidnapped from the pirates, and the goal was for the pirates to sell her as a slave. And probably the price was really high because she was a nun and she was virgin. As you can imagine, this was a big deal back then. Now, the pirates go to Paros with the nun, the Theoktistis, and she made it somehow to escape from them. And she hides in the forest, in the woods. So she hides there and she stays there in the woods alone for more than 30 years. And at some point, after 30 years, some hunters from the island of Eboia, which is upper from Athens, came to Paros to hunt, because this was a hunting place as well. So they came there. At the very beginning, they wanted to light a candle at this church because they knew this is a very important church. When they entered the church, they saw her. She looked like a ghost. Imagine a person living abandoned 30 years alone. Her hair was very long. She was not dressed at all. Her clothing has melted. And she was very, very skinny because she was eating anything she could find in the woods. So at the beginning, they got very scared of her. They thought this is a ghost or something. She did a prayer to convince that she's a real person and close to God. And she told them her story. And she said, please, next time when you return, please bring me the Holy Communion so I can do this for the last time before I die. That really happened. After some months, the hunters, they came back to the island. They brought her the Holy Communion. She drank it. They went for hunting. When they came back, they tried to find her to say goodbye, and she was dead. They bury her in the church. The grave of her exists in the church of Ekatonda in Paros, and she got buried there. So after her death, she was spoken holy. She became a saint, let's say so. So some centuries later, people from Mytilene wanted to take her bones back to Mytilene, to a church there, to her home, let's say so. They went with an official boat, the priests and so on, everybody was dressed well. They went to Paros, they took the bones, and on their way back, the weather was not good, as today. So they needed to make a stop in Yaliskari. Yaliskari is the small port close to Armenistis, after the beaches. I don't know if you saw it. From Armenistis you can see the white church on the opposite. This is Yaliskari. So they needed to make a stop there. They stopped there and they had to spend the whole night there. The locals saw a huge boat, official priests dressed very fancy, and they thought, and a box which looked like a treasury box. So they thought, this must be something precious. So they made a plan, a conspiracy. They made all the priests drunk. They invited them for dinner. They made them drunk and they steal the box. They came up to the mountains in this area. They opened the box and they see this is just bones. They got very disappointed. They threw the bones away and they leave. And the boat leaves without the bones, of course. They go back to Mytilene. Some years later, according to the legend, a farmer, a person around here from the area, he was seen in his dreams again and again, Theoktisti coming and telling him, please find my bones, I need to be buried appropriately. It needs to be a burial. So he was seeing this dream again and again, and at some point he had a dog. His dog found the bones. The dog didn't eat the bones because they were holy, and since they discovered the bones, they decided to build a church right here in order to host the bones.
A evo da vam pokažem unutrašnjost kako izgleda. Dosta je to nisko. Stropovi su jako niski. Ne znam da li se to može osjetiti ovako, ali evo pogledajte iznutra kako izgleda. Jedan od razloga što su ovi manastiri ili generalno kuće ovdje građene u brdima je zbog gusara koji su bili dosta velika prijetnja lokalnom stanovništvu tokom stotina godina ovdje, te bi oni prosto otišli da se skrivaju u brda, da grade ovako jake objekte kako bi se na neki način odbranili od njih. Gusarstvo je bilo influencerski posao tog doba. Svaka druga, treća osoba maštala je da na neki način bude gusar, da plovi, da pljačka, da osvaja, te biti gusar bilo na neki način veoma traženo zanimanje.
A kako su gusari bili velika prijetnja u staro doba, lokalno stanovništvo nije se usuđivalo da ide previše na more i peca, pa ono što vas može iznenaditi je nedostatak ribe na dosta menija ovdje. Možda vas iznenade i ovi prekrasni zalasti sunca, ali ukoliko dođete ovdje, bolje da se naviknete na njih jer ćete ih, vjerujte, viđati na svakom koraku tokom svog boravka. Vidjet ćete isto tako i ljude koji su stalno u pokretu, a još jedan od razloga dugovječnosti ovdje je po meni upravo ovo, samo na možda drugačiji način nego što sada mislite. Naime, kako na Ostrovu postoji samo jedna bolnica, lokalci su kroz istoriju morali nekada da šetaju i više od 10 sati kako bi stigli do nje, pa su se shodno tome dešavale dvije stvari. Pod 1. Jačali su svoj organizam te prenosili te gene na naredne generacije i pod 2. Zbog ponekad ipak prevelikih razdaljina bili ipak prinuđeni da koriste stvari oko sebe koje imaju u prirodi. Na taj način oni su se okrenuli izučavanju biljaka koje su im bile dostupne te njihovoj upotrebi u ishrani, a upravo na jednu šetnju ove vrste smo krenuli mi danas, gdje na trenutke zastajemo kako bi nam Selina objasnila koliko je sama flora ovog ostrva zapravo magična.
Hoćemo brat neko bilje. Hoćemo brat nešto. Kakav ćemo čaj da pravimo. Why did you move here from Athens?
Here I had family. I really like the place. I've been visiting Ikarija since I was, I don't know, probably at the age of the little one. So it was an option. We said, let's do the leap of faith. Let's move to the island and see what the island has to offer. But it was never something that we thought it would be like, we do this and that's it. Like, it was more of a trial and error. Let's see what we can do.
I think it's the place that I feel more productive over here, that I can do many things at one time, and this kind of life makes me alive. So I'm an athlete, I work, I play music, I can do all these things every day.
And what made you stay here?
The locals, probably. The people here had always have this way of making you feel like one of theirs instead of the outsider. So I think that it's something that not many people actually appreciate, but it's the most that any place like this has to offer.
I think the best thing in living in Ikarija, and in my opinion, is it's easy to find a brotherhood, like to find people that you can trust and you can build your future. So your future of your family, of your kids, so you can be like independent from the outer world. The secret of longevity, eh? It's basically happy life. It's escape from the cities, like enjoying, loving the people, socialize, living every day like a human, like you're supposed to be.
What I see from the others is that they keep personal time. Like, people will work all day, but they will have their time for the cafenio, like spend the time with their friends. They will have the time for the family, the time for the animals, to go and feed their animals. So I think that, you know, there are a lot of days that you completely forget about this. You do one thing after the other, you're like running behind the clock. but they always make time somehow, like even if they do probably more things that I do, they always find time for themselves. And I think this pays back at, you know, in the long term.
Every island it has its unique kind, but here, I mean, I don't think a lot of places in the world can reach this way of life.
E sad, kako smo u ovom videu rekli zaista dosta toga, htio bih da prije nego završim naše putovanje napravim neki kratki rezime stvari koje smo čuli, a koje bi mogle da odgovore na pitanje sa početka ove priče. Zašto ljudi ovdje žive toliko dugo? Tu su prije svega zdrava ishrana, pretežno bazirana na povrću sa mesom jednom ili dva puta sedmično, mnogo kretanja i rada u prirodi, dobra klima koju imaju sa mnogo sunčanih dana, svježe voće i povrće koje nije prskano, veliki broj društvenih događaja i okupljanja tokom čitave godine, ali i pojedine stvari koje još uvijek nisu ispitane. Utjecaj radona, mangana i drugih prisutnih elemenata. I da, znajte da tokom korone na Ikari niko nije umro te da gotovo nije bilo oboljelih osoba. Ali ni uz sve ove stvari nije tako jednostavno. Mnogo ljudi na svijetu danas živi na način da imaju bašte, da se kreću i slično, te sigurno postoji još mnogo faktora koji utiču na to. Iz tog razloga govoriti o tajni pomalo je apsurdno. Ta tajna nije sigurno jedna stvar, već niz stvari koje ovi ljudi rade, o kojima možda još uvijek niko nije istraživao, kao što je recimo genetika ljudi. Ljudi mogu piti isto ovo vino, jesti isti ovaj med i hodati mnogo, a recimo živjeti u Americi ili negdje drugo na zapadu, te vjerovatno imati potpuno drugačiji život.